bore down on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico will pack a punch when it makes landfall near Tampa Bay, just a couple weeks after Hurricane Helene devastated the Gulf Coast.
We've got crews stationed across Central Florida, and we're staying on the air until Milton moves off our East Coast.
First at 4, heavy traffic from people trying to evacuate from the Gulf Coast. You're looking at the Florida Department of Transportation camera along I-75. You can see traffic moving in one direction, not much in the other.
Yeah, it's a mess out there. Here in Central Florida, Volusia County just expanded its evacuation areas to all of Zone A. So that's the red zone right there on your screen. If you want to take a look at this map, that includes east of Ridgewood Avenue and US 1 in Daytona Beach and Holly Hill, east of US 1 in Edgewater and Oak Hill, people north of State Road 4 and east of Mullinax Ford in New Smyrna Beach. Now, this is a lot of information if you live in Volusia County, so we have the full order online at wesh.com, and we want to let you know this goes into effect at 8 Wednesday morning. Flagler County also just announced evacuation orders for all coastal communities from St. Johns County line to Volusia County line, people living near Crescent Lake, multiple mainland communities, including neighborhoods off John Anderson Highway, Palm Drive, Old Kings Highway, Lambert Avenue, and Riverwalk Drive. These are all under evacuation orders. Again, it's a lot of information. The full list will be on wesh.com.
Now, Milton is expected now to hit tomorrow night or early in the wee hours of Thursday morning.
Our first warning team of meteorologists here with us now, the chief, Tony Manolfi, Cam Tran. You guys have been tracking the timing of this storm. You're also looking here at this shot of Volusia County. We are expecting a news conference there in Volusia County to begin at any moment. While we wait for that, let's talk to you guys. And you know what? We have been saying this from the start. So much emphasis on our West Coast, right? And Tampa, and the evacuations, our Western counties. But here we are, new evacuation orders for Volusia.
Well, listen, they're doing a great job. Yeah. We talked about this last night. We were worried about, the storm surge warning that came out early this morning. And we talked about the watches last night, that there could be some issues there in Flagler and Volusia County. And I love what those folks up there are doing. And I got to tell you, I am really, really impressed with the amount of efforts going in, not only by emergency managers, but people in the community. Yeah. I think they get it. I think they're really, latching on, seeing that this is a serious thing and are taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think especially for folks who've been here a long time, I keep a lot hearing even within like friend groups, people referring to Charlie a lot and the vibe that this particular storm is giving. And I think that may be part of that as well. But let's talk more later after this press conference. Here we go.
Storm surge warning and also a flood watch as put in place by the National Weather Service. We're anticipating to feel the impacts of the storm really starting tomorrow night through Thursday into Thursday morning. The wind will continue to intensify throughout the evening and again continue into Thursday morning. However, its effects can spur tornadoes and significant rainfall beginning as early as tomorrow afternoon. We're looking at the potential to receive up to 15 inches of rainfall in some parts of the county and possibly Category 1 strength winds throughout the county. However, we cannot rule out the possibility that we could see gusts up into the Category 2 hurricane range. Earlier today, we expanded our evacuation zone to include all of what we call Zone A, which encompasses all of the areas east of the Intercoastal Waterway, and that was announced yesterday. The new areas also include some areas on the west side of the Intercoastal Waterway that are susceptible to flooding, being as they are low-lying areas. If you're not sure of your evacuation zone, we've provided a link on volusia.org and on our Facebook page where you can enter your address and it will tell you what zone you are in. If you're unable to locate your evacuation zone through this method, please call our Citizens Information Center at 866-345-0345. Again, that number is 866-345-0345. The Citizens Information Center is open until 7 p.m. tonight and will reopen at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. As mentioned yesterday, the evacuation order also applies countywide to any persons in manufactured homes, mobile homes, RVs, and low-lying areas, and other areas that are prone to flooding. Okay. While the evacuation order does not go into effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, you do not have to wait if you feel like you're in one of these affected areas, especially if you're planning to travel outside of the county. We suggest you leave earlier. The odds are that if you wait, you're going to run into heavier traffic. We're also opening multiple emergency shelters tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The general population shelters include Creekside Middle School, which is on 6801 Airport Road in Port Orange, University High School at 1000 West Rhode Island Avenue in Orange City, DeLand High School, which is at 800 North Hill Avenue in DeLand. This shelter will also be a pet-friendly shelter. Mainland High School at 1255 West International Speedway in Daytona Beach. This one is also a pet-friendly shelter. And then the Volusia County Fairgrounds at 3150 East New York Avenue in DeLand, which also will welcome pets. There will also be special needs shelters available, which will be staffed by healthcare professionals. Special needs shelters are not for isolated patients or people who need 24-hour dedicated care. But if you are unsure if you meet this requirement, again, contact our Citizens Information Center at the number I previously provided, and they can help you make the determination if you need to go to a special needs shelter or not. The two special needs shelters that we have open are Galaxy Middle School at 2400 Eustis Avenue in Deltona, and David C. Hinson Senior Middle School at 1860 North Clyde Morris Boulevard in Daytona Beach. For those who may need transportation to a shelter, Votran and our critical partners at the Volusia County Schools will be providing transportation at no cost. If you need to go to a shelter, we will help you find a way to get to a shelter. Please contact our Community Information Center if you cannot use Votran or the bus systems that Volusia County Schools is setting up. Again, do not wait until the last minute to contact us if you need assistance. Also, do not wait until the last minute if you are make the decision to evacuate your home. If you wait, it may be too late for us to provide those accommodations. Now, I'll hand it over to the county manager, Mr. George Rechtenwald, to say a few words. Sir.
Yeah, thank you, Clint. I'd like to expand a little on what Clint just said. This storm is shaping up to be a very similar hurricane to Ian. The combination of 15 inches of rain hitting our drainage systems, up to 5 feet of storm surge and a high tide Thursday afternoon is going to greatly reduce the effectiveness of our drainage infrastructure. The National Weather Service calls this the total water concept. In short, if you flooded during Hurricane Ian or almost flooded, you're in danger of flooding again. The time to prepare is running out. You have the remainder of the day and a little time tomorrow. Please do not wait until conditions worsen before you decide to take action. Make sure you have plenty of food and water to get through the next few days. Make sure the food is non-perishable, because there's a possibility of widespread power outages. And again, don't get complacent. We're not going to bear the brunt of this storm like the west coast of the state, but we're still going to receive significant impacts. If you have a generator, use it wisely. Make sure it's placed far enough away from your home where the carbon monoxide cannot creep inside. This is also the time to take pictures of the exterior and interior of your home. If something happens to your home during the storm, you need to provide pre-storm photos to your insurance company. This will help expedite any claims you may have to make. Out of abundance of caution, all Volusia County offices will close at noon tomorrow and will remain closed Thursday. However, I can assure you that all essential county personnel are actively working their assigned emergency functions throughout this event. Also, as a reminder, Volusia County Schools closed earlier today and will be closed tomorrow, and I think we have further information that will be announced here by the school board itself. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Volusia County Chair Jeff Brower as he comes up to the podium.
Thank you, George. Everybody is probably aware that the Florida National Guard is already deployed in Volusia County. They're already activated. I just got a call from my son, Brandon, actually, that his battery is stationed right here in Volusia County. Take that as an indication that Governor DeSantis is taking this storm very seriously for Volusia County. Now, it's not a time to panic, but it's also not a time to take unnecessary risk. If you're in an area that you just heard about that you should evacuate from, I would really encourage you to do that. Please consider staying in one of our shelters. They're safe, they're clean, you can take your family. You just heard addresses of them. You can go to County of Volusia on Facebook. You can go to volusia.org. Do that now while you have electricity and write those addresses down. And please consider staying at one of the shelters. You also heard that you can take pets to some of them, special needs. So please, let's do that. And lastly, I just wanted to tell you, we always stick together in Volusia County. We will get through this. Be aware of your neighbors, especially if they're elderly, and let's help each other. We'll get through this storm. We'll be strong on the other side. Just don't take risks. Stay safe. And I would like to introduce Patty Core from the Volusia County Schools.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. We do have some updates. As we announced yesterday, schools are closed tomorrow and Thursday. We are now adding Friday. Volusia County schools, all schools and district offices will remain closed Friday as well, in an abundance of caution, making sure that the storm has moved out and we're able to assess all of our facilities, working with our partners at the county to make sure the roads are passable so that we can safely get our students and teachers and staff back to work as quickly as possible. The second announcement we would like to make today is that we will be supporting the city of Pearson by sending 2 Volusia County school buses up to the town center in Pearson on the corner of 1st and Center Street. If anybody needs a ride and can't get to DeLand, which would be the closest shelter for them, DeLand High School, we will transport tomorrow. The bus will be there at 9 o'clock or right before 9 o'clock to depart to take people and their belongings to DeLand High School.
All right, and that press conference that you were just listening to from Volusia County officials talking about their updates throughout the day yesterday and today, expanded evacuation zone to Zone A earlier today, which we mentioned. And one thing that they said there, Tony, was comparing Milton to Ian in terms of flooding. Officials saying if you flooded during Ian, expect to be flooded again during Milton.
Well said. There's a lot of analogies. One of the other analogies is wind. And we've got another graphic here for you. These names are coming up. Charlie, Ian, Irma, and they're all kind of, very similar in that they've all bring a bunch of anxiety to folks in Central Florida. A lot of folks can relate to these storms in different ways that they interacted with Central Florida, whether it be the coast, whether it be through the interior, whether it be in downtown. Nancy, you were just talking about the buildings in downtown Orlando.
Absolutely, and the trees in downtown Orlando. I covered Charlie, and I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. It was incredible to watch this entire canopy in downtown Orlando just come crashing to the ground.
Waves, Lake Eola?
Waves in Lake Eola. I saw them with my own eyes. Yeah, it was surreal, really, back then. And, Tony, we got to think and talk about the things that we had then that we have now, right? And one of them is the ground is saturated already from all this rain that we've had and these gusts.
So I want to talk about the gusts. I think you guys have been doing a great job with the amount of moisture in the ground. So if we get 90 to potentially even 105 mile an hour wind gusts, which is on the table for me based on what I'm seeing, especially from Orlando on south, that's going to create a lot of those scenes you just described in those communities. I think up north, it's a different type of scene. I think the significant rainfall there north of the 408 is going to be a bigger story. I think the wind is going to be a bigger story south. I think the rain is going to be a bigger story up north. And I think that window, an opportunity for severe weather, it comes first. I think Cam and I are going to be very busy with severe weather. I think as we transition deeper into night, into the night. I think Kellyanne and Eric are going to be dealing with some significant winds in the power outages part of this storm. All right, let's continue on. You saw those numbers there, guys. Thanks for the refresher there with Charlie, Irma, and Ian. And you know, you just have to listen to the directors of emergency managers in your county. They're smart. They know the terrain. They've lived there for years. They're experts at what they do with storm inundation, with wind mitigation, you name it. You want to listen to them. And we want you to be in your homes no later than 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. That's because that's when we think things are going to get a bit more interesting here across the state of Florida and picking up here in Central Florida. Now, one of the things Cam and I and Marquise have been watching is we know that there was a little wobble there earlier with the eye wall replacement. So when you look at that eye, it's on the right edge of that cone. For me, I'm not too concerned with that. I don't know that it's making a turn yet. What I really rely on is a radar, and we are not near the Key West radar just yet. If this was a little bit closer and the Key West radar was showing something on the edge and was moving that way, then I might say we're having a bit of a turn. It is way too early to say that this is, almost south and east of the cone there, and it's changing the track. That's not happening. That's not happening yet. We got a little bit more time to watch the satellite loop and the presentation there to make the definitive call on that. One thing, though, that we have noticed is a very slight adjustment in some of our tropical models from the south of the Tampa Bay area and just south of Orlando. However, our global models, Cam and I have been looking at the Euro and the GFS, they still go over Tampa Bay. They still go over Central Florida. They have been all along on the northern side of the envelope of all of our models. They have not changed their tune. And when we take a look now at Milton, 2 o'clock advisory, it's getting stronger. We almost have a Category 5 hurricane right now. So here's some of the key takeaways. 520 miles southwest of Tampa. It's a strong Cat 4, but it's now beginning to grow in size, and there may be a window of opportunity for this to become a Cat 5 before it starts weakening. Arrives pre-dawn, in the dark, very early Thursday morning. That is not the time we want a storm to be coming on in because you can't see things. And you take a look now at the water vapor channel. Very sharp cutoff up to our north with those winds. The drier air did try to work in there briefly earlier today. But regardless if the models are dropping on south, the key takeaway is this. We're going to have a lot of rain up north. We're going to have a lot of wind, metro areas down south. That has not changed. So I want you guys to be prepared for that. Surge was a big deal. Cam just talked about that. We're going to be talking a lot more about the wind. Gusts start tomorrow afternoon, really get going overnight to Thursday morning, as does the tornado risk and flooding. Oh, I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of rain up north, Cam.
Oh, yeah. We actually had to. I literally just adjusted some of the rainfall amounts that we were expecting with some of our county by county graphics, which I'll show you in just a second. But first, Tony talked about those wind gusts, and with those strong wind gusts, we are expecting power outages, especially the farther west you are. It's going to be likely widespread in the Tampa Bay area, but even out towards the Four Corners region, I wouldn't be surprised to see more widespread power outages there, but expect to lose power on Thursday or late Wednesday night to Thursday because of the wind gusts. And we are expecting hurricane force winds here. Here's a look at our tropical wind field. So as this system continues being a major hurricane at landfall here about late Wednesday night to Thursday morning, just around 2 a.m. in the Tampa Bay area, look at the wind field. So the hurricane force winds don't extend out that far. That's the winds you see in the red there, but boy, do the tropical storm strength winds. So we'll definitely feel those winds well ahead of landfall here in Central Florida. And then look at this. It crosses the peninsula as a Category 2 hurricane, weakening Cat 3. And so we'll feel those hurricane force winds early Thursday morning before the system exits off the peninsula. So taking a look at those county by county impacts, here's what to expect for Orange County. Six to 10 inches of rainfall. Why so much? It's because winds sustained about 60 to 70 with the worst of the weather late Wednesday night into most of the day on Thursday morning, likely while you're sleeping. That's the case for folks in Seminole County as well. An additional 6 to 10 inches of rainfall on top of everything that we've seen already. Gusts over 80 miles per hour in Seminole County. That's enough to knock out power lines. And we're looking at winds sustained at 55 to 65 miles per hour. And here's a look into Osceola County. Unfortunately, Osceola County, I think you'll see the strongest winds with Hurricane Milton. Winds well over 90 miles per hour gust. That's gust though, and sustained winds 65 to 75 miles per hour. Rainfall amounts, since you're on the southern periphery of the storm, about 5 to 8 inches, so not as high as folks in Orange and Osceola counties or Orange and Seminole counties. But Osceola County, I do think those winds will definitely be an issue. So expect power outages if you live in Osceola County. Here's a look at your Central Florida certified most accurate forecast tomorrow and Thursday. Those are going to be our first warning weather days. But the good news, I'm trying to give you some good news. Once we get through Milton together, we will see some nicer weather. At least the high temperatures remain in the low 80s. So if we happen to lose power, at least the temperatures won't be that awful. Back to you guys.
All right, Cam, thanks. And we want to remind you, now is a really good time to download the WESH 2 mobile app and turn on those alerts. The news team is constantly updating this app with the newest storm information, and we'll send you push alerts for any severe weather alerts in your neighborhood as they happen.
FEMA is positioned throughout Florida ahead of Milton, so crews can hit the ground running once the storm moves through. 8 FEMA urban search and rescue and swift water rescue teams, 7 incident management assistance teams, 300 ambulances, 30 high water vehicles, and 5 staging bases filled with 20 million meals and 40 million liters of water are all on standby to be deployed. President Biden signed an emergency declaration for Florida on Monday. Meantime, Governor Ron DeSantis just gave an update on the state's response from Marion County.
Luana Munoz is live in Ocala this afternoon with more on what the governor had to say. Luana.
Yeah, you know, Nancy, the governor had a lot to say here at the Florida Horse Park in Ocala. You guys were just talking about a lot of the resources that are ready to be deployed across the state. This is the place where many of those resources have kind of come together to gather. Take a look behind me. We're going to do a little walk and talk over here. You guys can see there are beds of trucks with floodlights on them. All around me, I can see trailers. There are about 2,000 pieces of equipment here. We're talking about restrooms, trailers, water, fuel, bucket trucks, land and sea vehicles, pretty much anything that is needed to help this state once Hurricane Milton hits. This is one of the many staging areas that was prepped over the weekend to get the state ready for this massive hurricane. Already, the governor says that 1.2 million gallons of regular and diesel fuel are coming into our state to help with, as many of us know, the decline of gas that you've been seeing at the gas station. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel already headed there. FHP has escorted about 43 fuel trucks to gas station already. He met with Florida leaders and the president and FEMA. And our disaster declaration has already been approved. He said that there are warnings and watches all across the state. We've been talking about this. The most serious threat, of course, is going to be on the western coast, but this is a massive storm. The governor stressed it's going to likely be a hurricane going all the way across the state and exiting it on the eastern coast. So he said this is pretty historic in many ways. Take a listen.
We have 5,000 National Guard that are on duty. That'll expand to 8,000 very, very soon. We have a total of 34 search and rescue aircraft. We've gotten a lot of support from other states, and we thank them from that. We have 450 tactical vehicles, including 140 high-wheeled vehicles, aerial, water, and ground National Guard search and rescue teams. This is probably the largest National Guard mobilization in advance of a storm in Florida history.
And that is quite significant. You heard all the resources there that the governor has coming this way to Florida. He says states as far as California are even helping us. So he thanked many of those states for their help and for their resources. The governor says that he's ready. This is a state that knows and is no stranger to hurricanes. We're used to this. We're used to tropical storms. So he says that we are ready for whatever help is needed to come our way. He also stressed the importance of evacuating. He says if you need to evacuate and you're in an evacuation zone, or if you're concerned about evacuating, now is certainly the time to do it. Don't wait until tomorrow. He says do it now. For now, reporting live in Ocala, I'm Luana Munoz. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Luana, thank you. And Central Florida theme parks are starting to announce closures ahead of Milton. We've been expecting this just into the newsroom. Disney will begin closing its parks tomorrow. Disney's Hollywood Studios and Disney's Animal Kingdom theme parks will close at 1 p.m. Magic Kingdom Park, Epcot, and Disney Springs will close at 2 p.m. They will likely stay closed till Thursday. Universal Orlando will close Wednesday afternoon at 2. Volcano Bay will close all day tomorrow. All parks will stay closed Thursday. Hotels will remain open, though. SeaWorld, Aquatica, and Discovery Cove will also close Wednesday and Thursday. Disney is expected to announce more information as we go.
All local schools, meantime, are closed for Milton. Brevard, Flagler, and the Seminole counties are closed through Friday. Lake, Marion, Orange, Osceola, Polk, Sumter, and Volusia counties are closed through Thursday. Volusia also closing Friday. They just announced that in that press conference at the top of the hour. In Brevard County, Monday is already a holiday for students and a work day for teachers, so no school for students then. A lot of information that we just got dumped
Yeah,
on.
and every time we get more information, we want to remind you it is all on wesh.com, and you can look up whatever you need for wherever you live.
We will be right back.
From WESH 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
A monster of a storm spotted in space. This time lapse from an astronaut shows just how big Hurricane Milton is right now.
Everyone from local officials to the president warning Floridians the time to prepare is now.
This event is unprecedented. It is not like Hurricane Irma. It is not like Hurricane Ian. It is not even like Hurricane Charlie. This is going to be a very strong hurricane, but the hurricane is going to last for a while.
It's a matter of life and death, and that's not hyperbole. It's a matter of life and death.
While the Gulf Coast prepares for potential record-breaking storm surge, we here in Central Florida are bracing for hurricane-force winds and rain.
And right now, a look inside Hurricane Milton, you got to look at this. Come over to your TV. NOAA's hurricane hunters just posted this video on social media of them flying right into this massive storm. You can see it pouring rain, and inside the crew bumping along as Milton's winds just bump their aircraft really all over the place. We cannot say enough about their bravery. Look at that.
And professionals.
Yeah.
These are pros.
Yeah.
They are not folks out there wanting to get out into the storm for the kicks of it. These are scientists. They are pros. Nothing that anybody else who is not them should be doing. By this time tomorrow, 4:30, hopefully you are all wrapped up, hunkered down. By this time tomorrow, hopefully you are not preparing because time is over.
All right. Yeah, let's bring in our meteorologist now to talk a little bit more about that timeline. It's so helpful for people to kind of have a bottom line of, okay, I need to be off the road and I need to be home.
2 p.m.
2 o'clock.
2 p.m. Okay.
Yep.
There
That's
you heard it.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a look here. Since you got that right off of Cam and I instantly, you got to feel pretty good. Yeah. All right. There's a look now at Milton. There's your track. And you can see here, the one thing that Cam and I don't like is this is going to be arriving along the West Coast overnight while it's dark, while you're sleeping, especially southwest of Polk County. And then as it works eastward in the morning, it should be in the vicinity there of the eastern side of the peninsula by 8 a.m. or shortly thereafter. And then we think by about 4 or 5 o'clock, pushing back off the eastern side of the peninsula. And as it's pulling away, the other dynamic then becomes the storm surge. So we'll continue to monitor that. This storm just has so many different facets. There's the storm. It's on the eastern side of that cone. Again, it was kind of wobbling around there. The good rule of thumb is watch the cone in relationship to the eye, but the radar gives you the most precise location of the storm. Sometimes storms can be tilted, and even though it looks like the eye is kind of trying to get out of that cone, it's not. It's just the way the symmetry of the storm is kind of moving in relationship to the cone. Let's take a look now at the tracks. Cam and I noticed this. We were arguing playfully, of course, about the southern track there, just by about 5 to 10 miles with each run, and lo and behold, there's the Tampa Bay area, and the northernmost model comes over the southern portions of the Bay Area. Remember, if it can come in south of the Bay Area, that would be incredibly helpful. If it goes into the south part of the bay, that's going to create an amazing amount of surge, and that's not what we want to see. Drier air to the north, upper level southwesterly wind shear is starting to pop into the heart of the Gulf of Mexico, but not quite this far yet. Visible satellite, look at that stadium effect right there. I remember flying in the Wilma, seeing that type of effect and seeing some 40-foot waves in the Gulf of Mexico back in 2005 when I flew with them. Look at these advisories. Hurricane warnings, the entire Central Florida Peninsula. For me, again, the worst of the weather starts arriving in the afternoon with those squalls, watching for the tornadoes. The wind becomes the bigger concern overnight and very early in the morning, and then we've got to watch the flooding thereafter.
And we also have to watch for the storm surge once it crosses the peninsula as well. So it's a multifaceted impact storm here. Let's start off with all the storm surge advisories right now. So it's not just for the Gulf Coast, but for the Atlantic side as well. We have storm surge warnings in effect, and that's because it's still going to be a hurricane as it crosses the peninsula and heads onto the Atlantic side. And the wraparound behind this storm will bring storm surge even to our coastal locations from Flagler all the way down to Brevard counties. But of course, the strongest and the worst of the storm surge, unfortunately, will be on the Gulf side, including Tampa Bay, where they're looking at 15-foot storm surge there. As for our local beaches, we're expecting a storm surge as high as 5 feet. So still substantial, but not as high as what we're expecting on the Gulf side. And then it'll be exacerbated during times of high tide, which is what we're expecting here for Thursday. You can see in the morning around 6:45, Flagler Beach, things could get rough there. And then again, a second high tide at 7:19. Daytona Beach, we are expecting that surge to increase, especially by about late afternoon. So we are expecting by 1:50 conditions to go downhill for our coastal locations there in Daytona Beach. Not only are we talking about the surge, but the seas as well. Look at how high the seas will get with the impacts here from Milton. So not a good day to be in the water at all. In fact, downright dangerous, and also rough conditions for mariners. On top of the surge, we're also watching the tornado threat. As we go through the day tomorrow, we are looking at several tornadoes likely, especially as we get some of those outer bands lifting in from the south and moving over us. Sometimes we get those little spin ups there, so we have to monitor that closely as we go into Wednesday afternoon and evening. So The rest of the day today is the time to prepare. Once we get into tomorrow, you're getting it really too late. Remember, Tony and I both said in unison 2 p.m. So impact weather in the morning, and then things will start to go downhill fairly quickly after lunchtime tomorrow. Coming up in a few minutes, I just updated a few of those county by county graphics. I'll show you now the new rainfall amounts that we're expecting in our area. Coming up.
All right, as we've been telling you, Hurricane Milton is expected to slam into the Florida coast as a major storm, and last-minute preparations continue.
West 2's Christopher Salas live in the area of Southwest Florida, just outside of Siesta Key area. And Christopher, with gas stations running low, airports closing down, the window to evacuate is closing.
Yeah, Jesse Luana, that's exactly right. Time is running out for people to prepare for Hurricane Milton, which is expected to deliver powerful winds, as your meteorologist just alluded to, and storm surge that could be life-threatening. This all to a region that is still recovering from Hurricane Helene. Along Florida's Gulf Coast, shelves are emptied, gas stations closed. The final shutters are going up.
How many animals are you bringing with you?
And evacuation centers are opening as millions head inland to flee Hurricane Milton. How many meals are you making?
Lunch, I think, like 500. I guess they're expecting like 2,000. How we're going to do that, but I guess we will. Keep on trucking.
The powerful storm is forecasted to bring catastrophic flooding and life-threatening storm surge. It's that storm surge that really scares you, huh? Yeah.
Right, it is.
This isn't Bob and Mary Ann's first hurricane. In fact, you said the fourth time, and how long?
10 years. 10 years. It gets tiring.
It's a familiar sentiment in the storm-battered region.
We've had so many this year. It's just been incredible.
Dave says his neighbors just finished cleaning up Hurricane Helene.
And this is the first time that we've been apprehensive about what the results really can be. You know, we've always felt like we were prepared.
And they're now boarding up and holding their breath as Milton approaches.
This thing is something that puts an emotional toll on you where, you know, you hear a loud noise, you almost turn around and jump, which is unnatural for most of us. You know, you hear something, you're jumpy all the time.
Aside from the rain, wind, and storm surge, there is also a major concern regarding debris left behind by Hurricane Helene, like you just saw over my left shoulder there, and that debris turning into dangerous projectiles, particularly when the wind from Hurricane Milton really starts picking up here. I'll send it back to you now.
Christopher, thank you. Now a bit north from him, Tampa bracing for a direct hit from the storm.
And after Helene's damage, this area is still vulnerable. West 2's Justin Checker live in Davis Islands right now. This is a neighborhood in Tampa. And Justin, really everything there around you tells the story. Look at all that debris.
And this is just one of the many piles of debris we're seeing here on Davis Islands. This neighborhood is very low lying near downtown Tampa. The businesses here along Davis Boulevard, they were hit hard during that flooding 2 weeks ago. The family that owns Margarita's Mexican restaurant says they had several inches of water inside. Today we saw them making final preparations before Hurricane Milton strikes. They're putting down sandbags and covering their window with a tarp. The owners who live in this low-lying neighborhood near downtown also had flooding at their home.
I don't think any of this business have flood insurance. The house did, but the business not.
How worried are you about Milton?
So worrying. I think we're leaving Tampa as soon as we're done here.
And that's what I'm hearing from several folks who did not evacuate during Helene. They are planning to leave today before Milton strikes tomorrow. And that family told me they're actually planning to evacuate to Kissimmee. Reporting live in Tampa, I'm Justin Shecker, Wesh 2 News.
All right, and we want to give you this live look now from Port Canaveral. The port is open right now under limited operations, and it is preparing to close. The Coast Guard could see up to 5 feet of storm surge from Milton there.
Yeah, beach erosion, also a major concern. West 2's Michelle Meredith live at Port Canaveral right now as final preps are underway. Michelle?
Well, the port is expected to close about 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and the port is controlled by the Coast Guard. So I'm about to get into some unusual Coast Guard terms. Now, right now, the port is under Condition Yankee, which is one step away from Condition Zulu. Now, when you hit Zulu, that's it. The port shuts down on land and sea. Now, there are no cruise ships here right now. They all left on Monday. And the big question is, can they return on Friday? What will the port look like? What will the weather conditions look like? Brevard County is expected to get winds up to 70 miles per hour, gusts up to 100. So circling back around, yes, they are very concerned here at the port. Live at Brevard County, Michelle Meredith, West 2 News.
All right, Michelle, thank you. Now, another closure that we want to get you guys some information about real quick, as I just got it. Daytona Beach International, Volusia County, closing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. They will cease operations commercially. So another closure right there, travel related in some ways as well. So
new information just keeps coming in. We are going to continue our coverage when we come back from Seminole County, where Greg Fox is in a neighborhood there as people prepare. We'll be right back with our continuing coverage of Hurricane Milton.
From West 2, this is continuing coverage of Milton.
right now, like so many others, final preps happening in Seminole County, and officials are getting shelters ready to open for people in need.
And firefighters in Winter Springs are going door to door in mobile home parks, advising people living in those homes to seek better shelter before the storms arrive. We have seen this happening in counties across Central Florida. West 2's Greg Fox live in Winter Springs now. Greg, they are really stressing for people who live in these modular homes to just leave.
Exactly. And part of the reason here in Tuscaloosa Trails and some other mobile home parks is that some of the homes are much older. Newer construction tends to be better, but there's really a mix in most of the ones that we have been in, both with this storm and previous storms. Across the street, it's really a family affair going on right now with the Palmer family, Kevin and Sarah and their 4 kids. Getting ready to not ride out the storm in their home, but they wanted to take care of this big tree in their backyard. So they've cut some of the limbs that were hanging over the carport there. Let's take a look at some of this video from earlier. There's been a lot of people getting that advice from firefighters here in this particular neighborhood, saying, look, there's going to be 8 shelters open beginning at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And that people should strongly consider leaving. There's about 180 people who live in this particular mobile home park.
And they do say that most of them are intending not to stay, but to either go to family, friends, or to shelters. And that is very good news. Others are prepping their houses, some with boards, to be able to stay. Earlier, we heard this warning from the head of emergency management.
This event is unprecedented. It is not like Hurricane Irma. It is not like Hurricane Ian. It is not even like Hurricane Charlie. This is going to be a very strong hurricane, but the hurricane is going to last for a while, so we need to be prepared for that.
Earlier, we were at Lyman High School, which is one of the pet-friendly shelters, and they were setting up, I mean, more cages than I've ever seen before to be able to house dogs, cats. They also say they can accept, believe it or not, your goldfish in a goldfish bowl, lizards, snakes, whatever constitutes a pet. They are getting ready for them. And as we come out live now, and again, take a look at the Palmer family as they're just finishing up work here before they get packed up so that they can then go and stay with, I believe they're staying with family members not far from here. And it looks like their home's going to be in a lot better shape now because they've gotten those limbs taken care of here. Live in Seminole County, Greg Fox, West News.
All right, Greg, thank you. Meantime, let's show you this. Hurricane Milton swept past Mexico's Caribbean coast today, bringing strong winds that knocked down trees and power lines across Quintana Roo, a popular tourist destination. Video recorded from hotels in Cancun overnight is into early morning showed the downpour slamming the beaches while winds and lightning strikes followed. It's quite to see some of those videos around on social media, lightning strikes, crackling. When the lightning comes down, you see just big clouds in the distance. So just kind of some views of what might be coming this way.
You know, when we talk about hurricanes and tropical storms, we don't usually associate lightning with them because they're warm core. However, in rapidly developing systems and in thunderstorms here, when we see a lot of lightning, we know that we have an intensifying thunderstorm. And in this case, we had an intensifying hurricane. So there's a really good correlation between lightning and storms and lightning and hurricanes.
Interesting. That might be on our hands at the 5 o'clock advisory. That should be coming out any second now.
Yeah, let's see if let's pop that graphic up there real quick.
Nope, still 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. All right, so we'll get. All right, yeah, just scream and holler at me, and then we can always go back to it. All right, so with the 2 o'clock advisory there, you can see as Cat 2 over central Florida, winding down as it makes landfall before dawn, and then everything kind of builds off towards the eastern side of the Florida Peninsula. In my mind now, and based upon what we're seeing, we're looking at some more data coming on in, there's going to be a real good chance that we're going to see 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts here in central Florida. And when Disney closes, you know it's a big deal. First time it's closing since Nicole in 2022, and it's the 10th closure since 1999 when Floyd came on through and then went up to the northeast. Look at the hurricane. There's 2 flights going on in there. Boy, we are doing research. We are sampling. We are looking at a lot of different things here at this very moment. Upper level winds out of the west. You can see the storm system right here. This is going to move now towards the east-northeast, and then at the very last minute, likely turn towards the east. Look at that stadium effect, that visible satellite right now. It's a beautiful picture, but this is a very, very powerful and a very, very dangerous storm that's going to bring in incredible storm surge now from Tampa all the way down towards South Florida. Cam was doing an excellent job of showing you some of the storm surge forecasts. And if it does continue to go